Hey, what's up, everyone? You are watching or listening to my comic book journey podcast. I'm your host, Kennedy, and this podcast is pretty much about my journey of reading a lot of my comic books. I have a huge collection that I've amassed over my lifetime, and pretty much, you know, want to read them. I just feel very nostalgic of reading comic books because it's such a big part of my life. I think reading and also believing in superheroes and knowing what's wrong and what's right. You could learn a lot from comic books. Well, back then, I don't know about now so much that things have changed quite a bit, but definitely comic books were something that were a source of entertainment growing up. So today's issue that I'm going to be talking about is the X-Men, issue 47, featuring the Beast and Iceman. So this was from August 1968. So the comic was supervised by Stan Lee. Script was by Gary Friedrich and Arnold Drake. His layout is by Don Heck. Pencils were by Werner Roth. Inks by John Tartaglione. And lettering is by Artie Simek. So before Marvel Comics made the decision to have Bobby Drake Iceman become a gay man, I believe they changed that just within the last few years ago. Back in the 1960s, and even Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, cartoons of the 80s, Bobby was portrayed as a ladies' man. And with issue 47, with the supposed death of Professor X, the group has split up. And what way for Bobby and Hank McCoy to release some frustration by going out of town with the ladies. So let me show you this photo right here. If I can get, there we go. As you can see here, Bobby is like really popular with ladies. They're on a double date together, but immediately we see someone hypnotizing the audience. Anyway, at the meanwhile, a Mahayogi is using his power to hypnotize people to become his minions. Mahayogi, interesting villain name, actually is the X-Men's nemesis, the Warlock. And when Bobby, Hank, and their dates go to watch Mahayogi perform, immediately they know that they must take him down quickly. So the second story during the late 1960s, people were loving the Avengers and Spider-Man, Daredevil, Fantastic Four, but the X-Men was their way of trying to get people reacclimated to the series and know who the primary characters are. While issue number 47 is an interesting story about the Beast and Iceman, it's definitely not one of the strongest Silver Age stories about the X-Men, but it's still worth reading. I think, if anything, looking for these, if you run into X-Men, especially within the 40s, you'll know that some of these are more than likely reprints or, just introducing characters. So I think, if anything, with this one, people get to see Hank and Bobby hang out together and take on a baddie. So yeah, that's pretty much it with this issue. Again, it's a two-parter, and during this time, during the Uncanny X-Men run, it was trying to get people to get by the comic book because, again, most people were into the other superheroes. Uncanny X-Men, not so much. Not like it is today, of how things have changed. And, not just since today, probably since the 70s or 80s, late 70s and 80s, when people started really getting to Uncanny X-Men and just really become a big fan of it. For me, I'll talk about it later, which issue really got me interested in the Uncanny X-Men, but yeah, definitely, I think for a lot of people who grew up with Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, are familiar with Firestar and Iceman, and yeah, different type of Iceman as it is today. Marvel really definitely made a major decision on that one. Again, it was like Angel and Bobby Drake. I couldn't picture them, but hey, they're trying to make characters inclusive, and whether or not fans go for it, that's subjective. But um, you know, I think they were trying to really get people into it. I kind of look at things now. I mean, how it was back then. About a decade ago, or not a decade ago, but more like 5 to 7 years ago when they made that decision, and then now seeing how people react, especially towards video games, when you try to do something like that, gamers are not going to buy, and they really, really go up in strength when something that they enjoy are touched and changed completely from what they were before. You're seeing that right now, especially with the controversies going on with video games, and whether or not you feel that Bobby Drake should have changed or not. What's done is done, and yeah, that's the next men for a new generation, the next generation or the current generation. But for me, I grew up around the time when Bobby Drake was the Iceman. Spider-Man is Amazing Friends and the Uncanny X-Men. Definitely a different character than he is today. But again, it's all subjective, and whether or not you support it or not, who's to say who is wrong and who's right? But the thing is that what you grew up reading and remember, that was your time frame of reading those comic books. And if you don't read it much now, then I guess don't worry about it. Again, it's a different time, different generation, and they're really trying to move towards inclusion of not just races, but also LGBTQ and whatever works. And if it brings in a new generation of audience and fans who feel that the characters really made a difference in their lives, then I guess that's all good. It's positive. But again, I grew up a different time when and Bobby Drake was totally a different person when I grew up watching him on the cartoon and also reading these comic books. So, okay, everyone, you take care, and I will see you later. Wink, wink, and okay, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.